Hello. Okay. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Cooking with TZac. Okay, I really should stop saying that. So let's get down to the recipe. Today's recipe is something I haven't cooked before. It's also a recipe that I've eaten a very long time ago, and it's called Himachali Chana Madra. Now, my first and only trip to the Himachal was about 7 years ago, and this was before the Bombay Canyon opened. And I made a chef on the road trip, the first chef on the road trip across India. And one of those legs was the north part of the country, where me and a friend, my friend Akshat, and I drove from Delhi through Amritsar all the way up to Himachal. And we went to Shimla and drove through the highways of Himachal and went to Chole, which is a small town as well, looking for local Himachali food. And unfortunately, it was really hard to find. We asked a bunch of people; they kept leading us to different restaurants, but wherever we went, it was either like multi-cuisine food or like that typical North Indian food. Local food is very hard to find, and we found it in two places. One was Chole Palace, which was like a resort hotel in Chole, and the other was at this HTDC, the Himachali Tourism Development Corporation restaurant called, I think, Ashiana in Shimla. And both these restaurants had huge menus of about 150 dishes, but there were only about 5 Himachali dishes on the menu. The rest of it was all like standard Indian fare you'd find. So yeah, let's get down to it. You of course need chickpeas, which is the main component of the dish. There's also some whole spices. There's cinnamon, there's green cardamom. I would have liked to use black cardamom instead, but don't have any. There's cloves, there's bay leaf, there's whole green chilies. I like to add them for some spice. There's mustard oil, desi ghee, fresh turmeric, hing powder, cumin seeds. There's coriander powder, red chili powder, and of course yogurt or dahi, which is the main structure for the dish. And there's some rice flour, which I'll get to later. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I think we can get started. So I'm going to use mustard oil and ghee. Both add two very different flavors and contribute to the recipe in unique ways. The mustard oil has a little bit of a kick to it, and the ghee gives a richness. So if you have both, use both. In terms of flavor, because you don't really have onion, ginger, garlic, things like that, there's not a lot going on. So you want to add these two oils and fats in there, and pretty generous quantities, so that that flavor is not compromised. Oops. Okay. About a teaspoon and a half of cumin. Let that splutter in there a little bit. Add the bay leaves, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, and the green chilies actually. Why is there always stuff flying around in my kitchen? Turn the heat to low. I'm gonna add a little bit of hing. That's about quarter of a teaspoon. And then add the whole spice. I've turned the heat to low. So about 1 teaspoon or half a teaspoon of red chili powder, 1 teaspoon of coriander powder, and again like a quarter teaspoon of turmeric, maybe a little bit more. Stir that up a little bit. It's still on low heat. You don't want the spices to burn. Just a few seconds. Beware of flying objects. And throw in your chickpeas. Now these chickpeas have been. Hold on. I'm gonna add water. And then cover it with the lid. Okay. It's tight. I'll put this stuff away. This is going to take about 10 minutes. Oh shit. I didn't add salt. Very, very important. I want to be pretty generous with the salt here. Okay. I'm so happy I remembered to add salt. Okay. So about 10 minutes and we'll be back. You know that I'm a little scared of that first whistle. It's not an irrational fear, but because you could get seriously hurt with this, and I'm probably not standing on safe distance either. But make sure when you cook something in a pressure cooker, one, it's not a faulty pressure cooker, it's in good condition. You want to check all the valves and knobs and everything. And just to be safe, before that first whistle hits, just stay away. Very good. Now you're good. Now you can get closer. What I'm going to do while this is cooking is, in the meantime, get the remaining prep ready. Get some dahi out. So this much chickpeas about, I want to say, a cup and a half of dahi. Which I'm going to whisk together with a little bit of rice flour. And the reason for adding rice flour is once we add the chickpeas into this curry and we start cooking it, it's going to have a tendency to split. And if you're okay with that, that's just like an aesthetic thing. That's perfectly fine. I'm just adding like a teaspoon and a half of rice flour into this dahi. Then just whisking it up. Nice and creamy. This is for whisking it again so that you don't have to go through the process of kind of mixing it and getting it emulsified into the curry. Okay, so this looks like it's almost done. I mean, not looks, you can't really see it, but it's been 10 minutes. I'm going to turn off the flame and let that cool down on its own. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's completely cooled down. In fact, in this case, it took longer for it to cool down than it took to actually cook. So you lift the whistle to make sure that's okay, and then yeah, you're ready to open it. Moment of truth. Are you guys ready? Ooh, that looks fantastic. Turn it down to a simmer and add in the yogurt. Remember, we put some rice flour in there so that it kind of prevents it from sticking. Not sticking, prevents it from splitting. But also it helps thicken it up as it continues to cook. I've now been cooking this for about another 10 minutes, and I guess I put too much water in the pressure cooker the first time, so it's still kind of watery. So I'm gonna have to improvise right now, but I have an idea, and there's a good cheat which you can use for other recipes as well, is to kind of take some of this and then what we're going to do is blend it. Okay. Put an ice cube in there. Alright, time to add. And what this essentially does is takes advantage of the fact that chickpeas are actually quite starchy. The other alternative is to mash up some of the chickpeas in there, but then I'd like to retain the integrity of the chickpeas which are already in there, and just kind of puree some into like this hummus to be able to thicken it up on the side. And it works beautifully. I also do this for a lot of other recipes, like even when I'm making a salsa, I'll do the chopped vegetables bit and then just puree some on the side, and it gives the whole thing a more rounded flavor. Oh, look at that come together now. Yeah, and I think it's pretty much there. You can turn it off. And we're good to go. There you have it, Himachali Chana Madra. Cheap version. Thank you. Wait, did I miss the part where I talk about the flavor of the dish and how it's so complex and amazing? The creaminess of the yogurt, balancing out the heat of the chili, the subtle nuances of the different whole spices, the tingling flavors of the hing, and of course the creaminess and the juiciness. Wait, juiciness? No. The creaminess and the overall rounded juxtaposition of the chickpeas meeting the yogurt. Okay, I should just get to more drinking. It's just tomato juice, guys. But it really is pretty tasty. It takes me back to Himachal and those sad memories of not being able to find Himachali food anywhere around. This is definitely going to taste better tomorrow. So good.